Abstract Transmissions.
Hello. Welcome to Abstract Transmissions. We have some witches on the show today. Your friendly witch, and I'm going to let you pronounce it.
Peculiar Paige on Instagram.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your pages, at least where we can find them. So if you're online and you're typing something in, you can easily detect it.
So I'm Clementine from Your Friendly Witch. You can find me on Facebook, Etsy, and Instagram. Etsy is where I do online readings. I do tarot and palmistry on there. So that's etsy.com/shop/yourfriendlywitch and Your Friendly Witch on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome.
Instagram is actually Your Friendly Witch Shop. I apologize.
Oh, cool. That's great.
My Facebook is Paige's Peculiarities. Oh, no, I can't even say it. But I mostly just make crafts, mostly candles. And then on Instagram, I'm just Peculiar Paige.
That's awesome.
Super amazing candles, by the way.
That's
Thank
fantastic. And I mean, in New England, I think that's a heavy focus on like our type of economy. I feel there's a lot of DIY. There's a lot of individuals starting their own shops and their own entrepreneurship, whether it's crafts or whatever it may be. I really have a strong feeling that the future is like artisan economy. We're moving away from spending our times in retail stores and spending our times.
I almost feel like it's a millennial thing. People always give millennials such a hard time, but we're, go-getters.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think that they do. I think that we as I technically fall into that. I mean, I was born in 84, but that's like right on the cusp, I guess, right of where that, like,
yeah.
For a lot of people, it's whether you could remember having, a smartphone in your late teenage years or not, but for me, I didn't have that until 2008. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think
so.
Yeah.
I
got my first cell phone and we're hanging out. Dude, you need a phone. I need to get a hold of you.
You gotta get a phone, man. But I think back to the artistic economy thing, I think that is, part of the reason why people have heard on the podcast a million times that I'm such an advocate for Yang, because I feel like he's reinforcing that that type of economy. He's saying that, and I like Bernie, but he's really focused on like the federal jobs guarantee and the Green New Deals on creating jobs, which is great. But I think the amount, some people have been saying, is not going to keep up with Yang actually says it's like filling a bathtub that has a giant hole sink to fill in the bottom, because automation is doing such a detriment to the workforce. But I guess where I'm going with this, not to try to hook you guys on the Yang or anything, although if you get a chance, check him out.
Yeah, I'll have to check out this guy.
I think it's really, he's really, I think it's going to be interesting, because I think him and Bernie are going to come together on a lot of things, because he's thinking outside of the box, but also he's not a politician. He's not really in it for any other thing other than to try to save his kids' future. That's the only reason he even ran, was because he has kids and he was, doing like a for-profit entrepreneurship. He was growing businesses for the Obama administration, and he found that there was just a surplus of jobs going out to automation and a lack of jobs coming in just at all. Any jobs, and it's not just qualified jobs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm very much all for like the mom and pop shops coming back.
Sure.
I would love for that to happen. So even with my future, I would like to have my own place where I can do my services in person and have that people come to my place. Because right now I'm doing things online and at events. But in the future, that's what I would like. And I know that's what Paige would like as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think a lot of people want to go to that direction.
Yeah.
Too,
Yeah.
I think that
than
being forced into a job you don't like doing, or doing anything that you don't want to do, I feel like
crusher.
Right. This generation is finding that, look, not only do we not want to do soul crushing jobs, we want to express ourselves. We want to be who we are from a perspective of, you can make money doing that. Look at YouTube as proof of that.
Oh yeah.
And I think that as time goes on, it's going to be more and more proof that those are the jobs of the future. But it's hard, because those jobs are very abstract and unpredictable, and you don't really know. But another reason that I'm such an advocate for like a universal basic income, because instead of providing us with jobs, that provides us with a cushion so we can do whatever we want.
Exactly.
Which I think is more so
create a legacy.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think that's really the only reason I'm so behind Yang this presidential campaign, or presidential, whatever, shit show. The 20 fucking plus candidates. I'm an independent. I don't vote usually. I voted for Bernie last time because I think he's an honest guy, but not because I align with him politically on everything. But you can't with everybody. I mean, not all of us are going to be alike, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just like Yang a lot. One, because he was a nerd. That was where it really got me. He was a Star Wars guy. I'm like, all right. And he played StarCraft and stuff. I'm like, all right.
That's a good soul. That's a good soul.
It's a good inclination that, like, he's just, At first, I thought it was going to be a fad, but I was riding it. To see
Honestly, that's who should be running is people who are down to earth and not with that
have ties.
Yeah, with good intentions. So,
how much of that do you think really exists? I mean, Bernie has been so it's proof that it can exist. I think he's a good intentioned guy. He's been in the system for 40 something years, and he's not. I don't think. People can say what they want about Bernie, but I don't think he's a bad intentioned person. I think he's a good, honest
I don't
human
think
being.
so.
I don't agree with him politically on everything, but I think that he means well, and I think isn't that what we want? Like, not everybody's right about everything.
Yeah,
but we're coming together to try to fix stuff.
It's hard to say, honestly. I would never run for politics right now just because of how much hatred, and I could never. I wouldn't even. At this point in time, I don't even want my kids to be really involved in knowing too much with all of the, the way people treat each other over it.
Divisiveness.
Garbage.
So it takes a lot of courage to even run for any of them, any of the candidates.
It takes courage to even wear a friggin' shirt like
yes,
this.
exactly.
I'm wearing for the people who can't see because we don't have YouTube set up yet, because we're really kind of focused on the conversational aspect of it, and hoping that more people do that. But YouTube's a really good. Anyway, we'll get back onto that. But for the people who can't see, I'm wearing a Yang shirt and a math hat. I was going to go canvassing later.
I was looking at that hat, by the way. Yeah, I'm like, hey.
Yeah, it's my jam. I got it from some fellow Yang gang that helped me out.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I'm like, that's our
political movement, by the way. If you can see gang, that it is totally meme based, like. I mean, there's substance there, certainly, but my whole thing was like, I'm not voting this term, but I'll say this, whoever has the most fire memes will be the guy who gets the candidacy, because it's just how things are. And then I started seeing all the Yang memes, and I'm like, and he's got some good policies, and he's got an autistic kid, and he's not a politician. I'm like, oh man. So I keep on falling in love with this guy more and more politically. As a libertarian, there's some things I don't agree with, and I think taxes are the big thing, but he's moving to a value-added tax, like to take away from use automation as the tax producer, not human labor, to rely on automation to produce these fruits of labor.
I wish I knew more about that stuff. I really want someone who cares about global warming. That's very much my number one goal for the next president.
Steyer.
Tom Steyer, yeah. He's a billionaire who's on the field. I'm glad you brought him up, because I don't bring him up enough because I'm biased to Yang.
That's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, he's somebody to check out for sure.
Number one priority.
I'm so we should talk about that, because I've swung back and forth on this so many times, because like we were talking about before you guys came on, we for the people at home, we were having a brief conversation about men leaning more towards science and women, not all, not just generalizing, but men lean towards science a little bit more, women fact-based stuff, women a little bit more towards their heart and feeling, which I think is, I'm not saying that as a generality, but I think that we can agree a lot of times that's how it is. Guys just go with, I can see it, I can understand it makes sense, I'll buy it. Sold.
Yeah, sold.
They just got sold a 50-inch TV with the extended protection plan by me. Even though I don't sell electronics. Hey, Justin's like pulling his collar as we look at his 50-inch TV. No, but you bought it. You did your research. A lot of people just don't. Anyway, where I was going with that was that I think that's not always I think a bad thing especially when it comes to politics and stuff. Because for me, I'm going on the opposite of what most guys. I guess would probably swing on the logic. Looks like more money spent, taken away from me. Is it taxes? Like, I'm a libertarian, so I guess I identify with that big time. Right. What are you trying to sell me? Free money sounds bad to me. $1,000 a month sounds pretty fucking awesome to me. But I guess where I was going with that is that I think that if we can start to lean more towards feeling things out as human beings, because you can be skeptic, and Justin, I'd love your opinion on this, because I am skeptic, and I feel like we've talked about this. We've been friends for years, and we've talked about this millions of times. The conversation of, measuring what you can see versus measuring what you can feel and know. You just feel shit, and you can't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
There's
It's like gut feeling type.
there's times when your intuition, your gut will tell you something, and it'll be so strong you'll have no doubt in your mind. I don't know if you've had an experience like that.
Absolutely.
I was followed once to a parking garage and by a car. It was really scary. I didn't know I was being followed at first, but I stopped at the doorway, cement doorway, right before I entered the parking garage, just because I had a bad feeling. There was nothing that indicated anything, and lo and behold, that car sped up into that parking garage, and they were looking for me. I was able to hide.
That's
It's just
fucking terrifying.
that is I guarantee there was nothing else that let me know about that other than my gut.
Your intuition.
Yeah. It's just this feeling inside you, something's wrong.
For sure.
You may know that as a parent.
I do.
Yeah.
I absolutely
you
do.
know, you feel something.
And you can go logic all day, but I'm like, no, I'm not doing it because my gut says this, and I'm a parent. And actually, it's funny that you said that. Literally this week, it was just a circumstance where I'm like, look, I wanted to play in the snow, and there's just a ton of plows in the road, and I'm just like, I have a bad feeling. Normally I just say, yeah, go do it. But I'm just like, no. And it's like after I just fucking lost my wife, I'm not going to do it. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. But for me, recently, where I've only lived on rationality for so long and logic for so long, after my wife passed away, I had some kind of experiences that made me re-guess a lot in life, which was hard because it really makes you, accept being wrong. We talked about that a little bit earlier too, being okay with being wrong about certain things. But I had some things that just flew in the face of logic that really rocked my life.
Paige, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that comes a lot with losing someone that's really close to you, too, is when you really start experiencing stuff like that.
For sure. And, I mean, science is going to go, well, that's just emotional reaction, right? That's just loss and emotion, your way of coping with it and making sense. But no, dude, the day after she died, I got a call from DHHS after waiting for a month and a half, money to come through, and all kinds of things just fell into place.
It was
perfectly
that Monday, dude, right?
That day.
That's
it's
crazy.
just... Of course, it could happen. Chance. I mean, we could all be here by chance. A rock hit another rock, and it just happened to be the right temperature, and life existed and became whatever it is. But a lot of Christians would say, "Well, it's harder to believe that than it is to believe that Jesus just made the world in 10,000 years." I don't follow. I don't subscribe to that, but I can see what they're saying when it comes to science. So they're going off of sole chance, the possibility that an organism just happened to exist and spring life as we know it. You gotta have a lot of faith in science for that, or a lot of faith in randomness, I guess. Would be not science, but yeah.
No, everything's set up so weirdly perfectly in our solar system. It's insane once you get into it.
It really is.
And I'm very sorry for your loss as well.
Thank you.
But I do know Paige and I have discussed this as well regarding witchcraft and our religion. We both identify as pagan. That there's, in this religion, there's a lot that we just leave up to, that we don't know everything.
Right.
When it comes to other religions, they go by a book this is exactly what happens when you die. This is exactly what happens, during your life. As long as you do this, you'll be fine. In paganism, it's really not as concrete, and it's just something that you either you go towards or you kind of get scared from, and me and her both identify with that a lot, that there's, you know what I mean?
So that's interesting. That actually, I find that fascinating because I feel like life falls into that a little bit more than it does science, right? Because you can't predict everything. We're going to find things that we didn't understand. Just recently, I think it's really fascinating. They made a discovery that dimensional reality as we know it, and this is a study, of course. My friend Brandon would be like, well, it's a study, it's not fact. Okay, but so much of what we have is based on study, which is based on peer-reviewed fact, and then eventually becomes peer-reviewed theory, and eventually becomes what we understand it as a basic understanding of fact. Well, still, there's very few laws that we know in science, and that's only because it exists that way in our reality, in our existence. Somewhere else in the universe, gravity could operate differently. Laws of physics could operate differently. Well, that's a whole other.
But then you got multiverses.
Yeah.
That's already happened. That's already happened.
The Voyager 2 just got past our own galaxy. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, it just left this heliosphere.
I love space. I love space so much.
Oh my god, it's a fascinating thing.
I see. People wouldn't think like that. I'm so into science because I'm so into metaphysics. I read, tarot cards, and I don't know if they think a certain way about me, but I'll listen to lectures, college lectures about astronomy and space.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's I have this. I'm on the other end of it, where I feel like I'm now trying to open my mind to as many realms of possibilities out there, because I really think that, especially with the new finding, which we went on a tangent and got into the whole thing, but where I was going was that oh shit, where was I going? Oh, that that they just the study was that they discovered that we're creating reality as we see it, almost like a video game, and that perceptual reality is only where we need to perceive it, and that it's gone when we're not perceiving it.
I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, bingo. And that reinforced that, which would also reinforce a lot of metaphysical beliefs.
Yeah.
So when science really pushes hard against those things, and I know the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing is like, okay, well, where are the facts? Let's start measuring it. Let's do it. Why aren't we doing it? And it's because it's not a science that matters right now. Science that matters right now is phones and that type of technology. But more importantly, I think recently the global climate science has become a real big driver.
Yeah.
And so we were talking briefly about this. And Justin, I never really gotten your perspective on global warming. What do you think?
I think it's a natural process.
Put you on the spot.
I think it's natural. It's been happening forever.
Do you think we've catalyzed it? We've sped it up, slowed it down?
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help, for sure. I mean, we're getting the Dutch oven effect.
Right. Farting under the blankets, guys.
It's caused a lot of the bullshit.
Right. Well, and I would actually, that's where I've been. I have swung back and forth on this so many times. A long time ago, I guess I would be what you called a climate denier, but I would say a fact-based climate denier, only in the aspect that it was based on the current science. As time has gone on, we found that a lot of those things have changed, and the climate is increasing at a catalyst speed, which is where it shifted my things, because you can see where it is. It's on a curve, and it's up, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. Where I'm concerned is, and this is what my thing is that I'm right in between. I think that climate is a natural process that naturally happens. I think that we can impact it for sure, though, and what we do with our waste and our plastics and stuff all fucking matters. Like, just dump shit into space. like it's gonna come back and hit us eventually accidentally as a comet, like in that episode of Futurama.
So in regards to global warming and climate change, my husband and I have discussed this many times, and we don't really know for sure either. But my whole idea is, why not? Why wouldn't you just try to fix
Agreed.
it? Why? Like, there is
Totally
no good argument against not protecting the earth, and especially as pagan women, me and Paige. We care very much about the earth. The earth is everything. So.
Well, and the belief that we're all connected to it, right?
Exactly.
It's not just, and I mean, I'm a vegetarian, so I definitely struggle with eating plants as much as I do eating animals, because I do believe that there is a certain aspect of connected energy that this is more a recent thing. This has just been me thinking at night until like 2 a.m. But I think that maybe we all have some level of consciousness, and it varies from creature to creature depending on our evolutionary needs.
I feel like we have to have that,
right,
in order to
survive.
Sometimes,
well, I used to be on the other end.
Land gets calcified. And
yeah. Right, and then we don't need to use it anymore. Right.
Ugh.
No, I would agree with that.
No, I think that's great.
But we need to have it. We were born with it.
Paige is actually vegan, I believe, right?
No, vegetarian.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're like me, you struggle with the animal product thing.
But it's funny that you mentioned that, like, in science they are saying, like, that, I mean, obviously plants are alive, but they're also saying there may be some sort of consciousness there. Yeah.
Which makes it harder to be a vegetarian.
I know.
Because, the argument would be, though, is that, like, we're not horrifically... I mean, we are. Deforestation is horrible.
Cutting down those innocent trees to consume.
Dude, I know.
I'm talking about broccoli, not...
Well, but that's the thing, is that, like, fungus was the thing that opened my perception to this. The discussion on Joe Rogan, he had this fungal expert, this... I don't even know. He's some sort of biologist that is an expert when it comes to fungus, and his theory is that they are an advanced consciousness, and their whole entire thing is they just bide their time and let us waste and decompose so they can consume us. We break ourselves down, and they facilitate the failure over long periods of time, and we can't see it because they exist for long spans of time, and our consciousness only exists for short spans of time. Like, they're the elven creatures, and we're the humans in some J.R.R. Tolkien novel.
You look at big business and everything, like, everybody walking around. Got work to do.
I know.
And fungus is just waiting for us to come.
The truth is, boop, boop, boop,
It's funny if you think about the grand scheme of everything, and then you think about your job.
Yeah. Goes right out the window.
Space,
That's
galaxy,
why I am not going
planets.
back into selling appliances again, because fuck appliances.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It just makes it... But no, I mean, we do have purpose here, and it is important. Even if it's kind of, strange to look at it from that perspective, everyone's purpose here is very, very important. So
I mean, right down to every little creature that exists.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's like that goes to the discussion or the lyrics from Tool. Life feeds on. This is necessary. Life feeds on life. Feeds on life, and it just repeats over and over. It blows my mind to think that, like, maybe that's 100% right, but we don't need to overconsume. And I think that's where me and you probably agree, is that we are incredibly wasteful. Like, I grew up in a family that, killed animals, bagging deers at a young age, stuff like that. Like, got an animal at an early age, all of that, which has kind of paved my way for being not an animal consumer on the norm. But I do have cheese and stuff in my house. I struggle with that, though, and I still buy Daiya, and I still try to decrease the amount of dairy products I consume because it is all part of the same machine. And it's not, for me, it's a consumption-based thing, so if I can buy it locally, I will, and I probably would do the same with meat, but it's just killing another animal to consume it when I absolutely don't have to. I could consume tofu. I can consume other things. It may not taste the greatest, but I'm not killing an animal to do so. So I guess that was always my point. But the real concern that I have is not so much individual death as the mass consumer death.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
It's just horrible. It
really is.
I mean, it goes on multiple, not just the food industry, but the electronics industry too. I left Samsung specifically because of the amount of waste. No, nothing against you, Samsung. Please don't come down on me with a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit because I have some small podcast that's not going to do anything anytime soon. I'm not a threat to you. But you guys suck about taking care of shit. They wanted me to take care of 10 TVs when I worked for the company. I worked on appliances, but these are display TVs, and it wasn't enough for any of this. So perfectly good TVs. No, we can't donate them. No, we can't donate them. No, we can't do anything. We're just going to smash them and put them in the trash.
Wow.
You told me put them in a Lowe's dumpster compressor. One, it's not even RHS compliancy. So sorry, Samsung, throwing you under the fucking bus for that one.
They should donate their TVs to people that are partying in hotels.
Dude, people that are partying in hotels.
Old rock stars.
You could have been donating these TVs to Motley Crue the whole time, you assholes.
Could have been dropped out a window and landed on somebody's head. That's innocent.
The fuck is... It's the Mista lady. I think I just killed her. So I don't know. I guess I was just the consumerist waste thing is my big animal to tackle. I guess I really hate how much just rampant waste people are,
And we're like ruining the ocean, which is crazy to me.
and not just the ocean, us too, because all those microplastics are ending up fucking back in us.
Right.
Yeah, that's
My
rough.
skin.
Bling Bling the seagull. the
Yeah, I know.
6-pack wrapper. I've seen that. I was like, what? I'm done. I'm going to bed.
Oh god, dude, the internet is.
So I was gonna say, Paige is a Taurus, so that's an Earth element. She's very, very connected to the Earth, and
Really?
she cares a lot about that stuff.
So you've been around the world
Not really. I mean, but
more than me. I've been to Florida.
well,
You do travel sometimes.
well, I grew up in Kentucky actually, which coming from like
Yeah.
the country up here. I mean, it's really different. But yeah, I mean, I feel really connected to animals, like insects, just everything nature based, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, actually, you go ahead. I talk way too much.
I tend to see that with people who are Earth element based. I'm actually a fire element, so I'm a Leo. We tend to be a little extroverted and passionate people, and that's very much me. So like my passions, I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely.
a little extra.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I think you're an earthbender, aren't you? I'm
Earthbender?
So I'm Sagittarius. For sure. The outward, like, very, like, delusions of grandeur, thinking about everything other than what's I should be focusing on right now. I fit the cliche Sagittarius. Yeah, big time.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
I guess now at this point I'm just trying to embrace it, and that's why losing the job and whatnot. Which I try not to talk too much on the air because there's an active litigation thing going on, which is I can only talk about so much about it. But long story short, when I got out of the appliance thing, I'm just like, while I was doing the appliance thing, I thought about doing an appliance podcast because it was relative, and I know, not to toot my horn, but literally everything there is to know about home appliances in the industry, for the most part, outside of repairing them, which still I know quite a bit about that stuff. I could have went back in that industry, and I was like, no. But while I was with them, I was thinking about starting a podcast. So when I lost the job, I'm like, well, I'll start a podcast, appliance related. No, fuck appliances. Fuck appliances. There's so many other things to talk about. There's things that I am passionate about in life, not really appliances, like dishwashers. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's not going to last for longer than 7 to 12 years unless you buy a Speed Queen washing machine or a Sub-Zero refrigerator. Everything else, 7 to 12 years.
It's wild the way that happens. Just the distraction, like just doing the job over and over and over and over and over. And then literally it comes down to like fucking what's more important. And it's
Right.
like desk.
A
fucking washing
desk.
machine.
One door closes, another one opens, right? So
Yeah, I'm not always good at thinking about it that way, though,
Yeah.
to be honest. But I am trying to now.
yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to really change the way I look at things, because I think that with losing the job and something I was so passionate about, there was a lot of potential at that job, and when I lost the position, it was like the world was ending for me, because at the same time I was struggling with some things in my personal life, and my wife was struggling, and there was just this whole thing, and it's like I lost my job, and I tried to put as much focus as I could into this, but things just continued to get worse and worse throughout the year, and that's how like the year had been up until now. But I think whatever existed creator or connection that we have, God, may you have it, I think that thank God that I have this to focus on. I have things to focus on, put all my drive into, because a lot of times when people, life happens and people stop, and for me it's just like I just try to keep on going, and I'm gonna keep on going and moving, but only because I feel so goddamn positive that this is the right thing to do. Intuition.
Yes.
And it's a hard thing to
That
fight.
unison.
And I'll keep riding that intuition that creating and being a musician and focusing most of my time on being a father is the right thing to do. Society, on the other hand, and the GDP does not benefit from those things. So society, get a job, it's like, yeah, okay, and I could go work for AJ Madison again and sell appliances over the phone, possibly, but probably not, because they're based out of New Jersey and they haven't been smart enough to switch over to outbound call centers and stuff like that, which is, they're going to get pushed in that direction anyway. But that job's going to be decimated by automation also. Sears, Lowe's, and Home Depot won't exist in the next year. Sears already doesn't exist, sorry. Lowe's and Home Depot won't exist in the next year when it comes to appliances being their main income. I think that's going to change because, and this is just a wild prediction, ladies and gentlemen, on the air, you're hearing it now, sometime around Christmas maybe.
It's wild.
on the air. It's wild. Amazon's gonna... Justin's fighting his cat. Sorry, we got a moment here.
Me. I was being innocent.
Yeah, you were being innocent. You're leaving yourself alone. Jesus said, Jesus wants time to play.
He's ready for
He doesn't give a fuck about podcasts.
Oh my, he's mad at you.
He's also like 20.
He wants bite.
He's like 20 years old. It's like 16-year-old cat, right?
Enough. He's like, what is this?
Dude, how old is he?
16?
He's 16.
Yeah.
He's biding his time right now. He's just waiting.
Yes.
He gets that crazy look in his eye.
He's such a good boy, Jesus.
He does that. Like, he'll be like, come pet me.
Yes, his cat's name's Jesus. Ladies
Oh,
and
he's
gentlemen.
coming for you again.
For all the people listening, we're talking about Jesus. Like, what? Like, Tigo's cat's name's Jesus.
He's
So,
a good
for the
boy.
record.
Nice guy.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Oh, he's got that look.
He's got that look. What was I talking about before I got distracted by cats? So this is what happens on abstract transmissions. This is how we go.
He decided on
automation. Automated cats.
Automated cats. He's
Whole robot
automatically being
cats.
violent right now. Automatically.
Automated.
Automated violence.
Automated violence. Sorry, folks. It's a little picture of a dog with a cord in his hand. Technical difficulties as a cat,
Ruff. Dog next to a pile of vomit.
Automation. Yeah, I just think that automation. We were talking about Lowe's and Home Depot. I can't believe I got back to topic. That is a fucking first.
That's intense. Not in houses. Oh.
Automation. I love you, Justin. I do. It's 12. Wait, no, it's like 2. It's 1. It's almost 2.
No excuses.
Back to automation. I think that Lowe's and Home Depot are just going to have kiosks in the next year or so, and that the appliance is going to be gone, and that job's not really going to exist anymore, and most jobs are not going to exist in the next 4 to 6 years. And I'm not like against the acceleration of progress. I think that it needs to happen. Technology's got to happen. It's inevitable. We don't control it. It controls us because we live through it. But I also think that it's going to continue on this course, and that we need to kind of adapt to it. We need to get out in front of it.
It's good, that you could see that and then just realize it's no longer serving you. Like, it's no longer serving its purpose. Like, I just left a high-paying job to just pursue happiness and to pursue, like, just something I want to do. Like,
that's it. I mean, bingo. Like, I could go sell appliances again, and unless they give me $20 an hour, I'm not going to take it. And cocky and confident as I am, I guarantee I could probably get it somewhere. But do I want that again? No, I don't. I don't want to deal with the assholes coming in. I want a $800 washer. Last 25 years, it doesn't fucking exist. Go. And I'm much less empathic when it comes to those people. I don't care what their problems are. I don't want to fucking hear it. And I don't have... I'm always there to help people. When I sold stuff, people come in, I want to help them. But the minute they go, like, automatically, because I'm a salesperson, I'm an asshole. And it's just like, well, yeah, but I'm not like every other salesperson. You may not know that, but I'm genuinely here to help you, and I know literally everything you need to know about appliances. You just got lucky, and you're treating me like a dick. So now I'm going to try to help, but, so that whole thing is like, no, I could use that energy in such a better way. I think we all could. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you guys are doing it right now.
Yeah.
We're all doing it right now. We're being so much more productive doing this than working some shit job we hate.
There's something to your authentic self, and Paige and Paige and I have discussed the value of happiness. So wherever that might be, wherever, you know, and that can be a super high paying job and super, super important job, or, you know, every job is important in its own way, you know?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Unless those industries are dying, and then we should look at it like, well, if it's going away, how important is it to society? Mm-hmm. Right? Because if we don't need it anymore, then, and we're evolving to something new like YouTube or, you know, whatever it may be, podcasts to the new radio, like, why don't we try to get on board, like get out in front of that and adapt to whatever the changes that's happening. And again, I mean, not to, you know, inject a political thing again, but the reason why I'm so behind Yang is that he's thinking like, okay, well, federal jobs are great, and, you know, sure, there's a Green New Deal, you know, that's going to help with the environment and stuff like that. We'll get back to the environment because I do want to touch base on kind of my perspective on that. What the thing that I think is going to be more important and more impactful to the environment and to people is going to be our ability to just be who we are authentically and artistically and creative. Justin is a perfect example of this. I not to put you on the spot, but I've known him since we were kids, and I've seen him, you know, when I met him, he's easily now and then one of the best guitarists I've ever met as far as creativity goes. Sure, no, because you're going to talk yourself down, and right, you're not the most technically proficient guitarist out there. Some guys can sweep you under the table, but they can't write for shit sometimes, and that's the thing that's important is his creative ability. If you were to sit down with a piece of paper, you go, here's a piece of paper and a pen, Justin, make something. He's going to make something. There's
awesome.
plenty of people out there that just couldn't. They would go, okay, and they'd draw something, and they wouldn't feel comfortable about it, and they'd be anxious about what they're creating the whole time because they've been locked in this box that it's not okay to just be expressive. Mm-hmm. How many people in reality now are living that reality that are afraid to create?
Yeah, you gotta create. You gotta do something.
But you say that is like it's just a second
too
hand.
much.
No, but you say that as a second hand because you can just do it. But there's some people out there that if you gave them a piece of paper and a pen, and it would trip their anxiety to the point where they might even like shut in on themselves. And I think that's a conditioning of what society we're living in now.
Yeah, actually, Paige and I just went to a meditation, and the woman who led the meditation, she was talking about your ego versus your heart. So your heart, you know, guiding you towards creativity, like you were saying, and then your ego stopping you, being like, that's not good. That's not good enough. That doesn't compare. That's your doubt. That's what stops you from following your heart. It's a hard thing to control.
That's wild how much of that rings true. That's fucking
I mean, I experienced that as a reader as well. You know what I mean? I'm comparing myself to...
Having a hard time for the listeners out there who can't see me, like, being jarred by this. I've had this exact experience that you're talking about with YouTube creating, like, a video. I record a video, and really that was the better video, but then I'm like, I go back and I overthink it, and I recreate 2 videos after. And the first one was the better one.
Yeah.
I should just went with it.
Yeah.
But because of my ego and like, oh, I'm gonna sound stupid, or oh, you know, it doesn't look right, or, you know, I'm being self-conscious, like my shirt's tucked under my man boob or something weird that I'm just overthinking, you know, all of that. And this has been my real focus, is to get out of that. Like, get out of that. Who gives a shit? Because all of that is just, it's shell shit. It doesn't matter. What we've got inside of us, what we're producing externally, is what really is going to define us as people.
It's so weird too, like just like the self-deprecatingness, you know, just
it's brutal.
You're seeing everything, but people are like, no, I'm just here to see you. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't give a shit. You know, I like you. You know, good people.
A million
I just wanna
times.
see you.
Dude, we're the
And
most.
We're just like, oh, I don't know. The air is hitting my arm weird or whatever. Like, I can't record this video.
Dude, it's you're right. Dude, I saw you do it on state. This kid made some really creative stuff when we were in a band called Unrest in Transit. It was a metal band. It was very, This is the most successful thing I think either one of us has done, playing live and musically.
Yeah.
And we get to play some really awesome bands and do some really amazing things. Play the downstairs Palladium, all of my box checklist. But there's so many times that I'd look over to you and you were still, dude, there'd be a full pit going, like, we've got it, we're doing it, and you'd be sideways playing, because you're just like, don't look at me. I don't want to be, bothered. He's just so him. He's
don't
like Maynard.
I'm working.
Yeah, you're like Maynard, James Keenan, the type of guy that wants to just behind the screens, do your thing. You want to create, and you love the effect that it has on people. You love that people respond to it.
I love it, absolutely.
But you don't really. Don't look at me. Don't leave me alone.
This is pay attention to the energy, not to me.
Mm-hmm. Bingo. I can relate to that a lot.
Me as well. Yeah, so definitely like a behind the scenes person more so.
For sure. I mean, but isn't there a certain like comfort in that too? That like because you don't have to be bothered with the externalities of things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm a very like extrovert introvert person. I border the line because I play extrovert really well for sales and this but I'm not a people person. You ask anybody that works with me in sales, specifically my most recent job, I fucking hate people. She said that I fucking hate people. And I don't hate people. I have a bright perspective of humanity, kind of. But I also think that we are slowly, on a steady decline as a species, away from what things were and where they are going to, and that I'm worried. I guess more than anything is that I want to be optimistic, but I'm not.
It's okay to be worried, but I have to say I love people. I'm like the complete opposite. I see almost the good in every single person. And that's okay. We were actually just discussing empathy on the way here, and that has a lot to do with it.
It's huge.
And especially with what you're going through. Like, I'm not surprised you're in that mindset right now.
It's weird because not to get really into like the personal stuff, but I don't give a shit actually. My wife and we talked a lot about this because I struggle a lot in our relationship and just in general not having enough empathy and not being more empathic for anybody other than my kid. I'm super empathic because I don't think empathetic is the right word. I think empathic is the right word, right? But with my son, like I can be very empathic and understanding, but with other people, I guess for a long time it was like, why don't you just fucking pull yourself up? I did it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not experiencing what they're going through, and it's hard to do that. The more I try to step out of myself and step into somebody else, it becomes easier, but I still struggle with that. Like, human beings are destroying the planet on a slow, steady decline, so it becomes hard for me to become optimistic like you or my wife saw nothing but the good in people.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't the best person, and she didn't see all of the negative things in me. And granted, I've learned a lot for myself. I've changed as a person, and I'm proud of becoming a better person. But I think that can be sometimes a detriment, is that people can be energetic vampires to people who are empathic rather, and they suck the life right out of them, and it can destroy people like that. And I think that a part of the guilt that I have is that I feel like I did that in a way, and I know that that's not entirely true. I think that we both struggled with life being a reality, and trying to make it work and figure everything out. But when you lose somebody, it forces you to realize things that they said or did or whatever, so those things become so much more realistic. But empathy, I guess, was where I was going with that. I think that that's probably the biggest thing that we're lacking from as a species right now.
Yes.
And as we go farther and farther into the technological age, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
we've talked about like you would you reference it as a psychic vampirism, like sucking the
like almost like an energy vampire.
Yeah, exactly, energy vampire. I don't know how people reference it, but that actually shows me that you do have some empathy. If you feel like or if you thought that you were doing that to someone else, it shows that you can reflect on that.
It is, and I do actually, and I've had discussions with people like my ex that I reached out to, recently to apologize and just be like, hey, look, I made some immigrant and I was as a kid. When you're a kid, you're figuring yourself out and self-esteem and balancing all of those things. But I apologize because I during your own things, especially if you feel like you have, and I feel like I did have narcissistic tendencies, recognizing them and like trying to move through them is great. But when you're in it and you're doing things and trying to better your life and trying to find your way through it, what's the wake that you leave behind, right? Like, you're trying to find yourself, but in the process of finding yourself and becoming a better person, how many people do you destroy? Not destroy, I guess, but from a personal level, destroy. How many people do you destroy in this process of finding yourself? How many people do you hurt, or do you...
See, you're looking at it wrong. Wake? You should be thinking about how many people's lives you influenced for the better.
Yeah, I definitely never look at it that way. I always look at it on the negative spectrum, and I'm like, oh...
Think about the...
self-doubt.
The thought, like, fake it till you make it. So if you have a hard time being optimistic or positive about yourself, just say it.
Yeah.
Say some positive affirmations in the morning. You know what I mean?
The mirror. The good old mirror. Yeah.
I'm a good person. I'm doing a great job.
God, I have so hard time with that. I do those.
Yeah.
I try to do them regularly, but it's really hard. Mm-hmm. Really hard. Have you ever tried to do that, Justin? You just stare yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you're worth it and that you're awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a... I'll just kind of glance in the mirror like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, hey.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Thumbs up. Like,
don't fuck up again.
Won't do that. Just be good.
Thumbs up is a good start.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's the way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
Yeah.
She just hit the nail on the head. I love that you did that, because that's right. The start is the important part. The fact that you start doing that and then slowly get okay with telling yourself that you're okay and that you're good. Because I'm right in the middle of it right now. I do these on a daily basis. The counselor says I should do it. I've been going to a counselor for 5 years now. And I agree with some of what she says, not all of what she says, but I try to apply all of what she says. Because what's the worst case scenario? It's not going to work. I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm not doing it. Hey, at least I tried it. But to circle back to the empathy thing, do you think that the global warming, do you think the climate impact has to do with empathy? Do you think that that's they're tied in? The fact that people aren't thinking about the long term of what they're leaving behind, the thinking in the now of, well, not even the now. They're just thinking about, like, I say so much the now, but they're thinking about the next thing that they're going to get to, and they don't give a shit about the stuff that they're leaving behind. They're not living in the present. They're not living in, this just reality.
In my opinion, there's a whole, there's an idea, like, it's not broken, so let's not fix it kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's not a good mentality. So,
yeah,
yes, that comes with a lack of empathy, a lack of... just a lack of understanding that, what possibly could be consequences of not caring more about the earth, about the ocean. Maybe the ozone layer, like, maybe that's all a sham. Like, does it really matter? Like, we can do so much more to help the earth, so much more. And we should be putting in all the effort that we can possibly to do that.
And what's the worst case scenario? We just make a better planet?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no argument against it, honestly.
So, I mean, I guess, well, there is, unfortunately, but I don't agree with it. And it's the cost argument is that we're already $23 trillion in debt, and as a country that we specifically haven't been doing most of the damage and stuff, which although I agree with, I also say we're also supposed to be the leaders of the world, right? We're supposed to be reinforcing this. And if we're going to world police everybody on fucking religion or anything else, because there are religious implications in almost everything that we do worldwide, things that we enforce on other people, drug laws that we enforce it on Thailand in the 80s, anything has been based around religion, that now if we were to go and try to enforce, global attention, that maybe that would work. But my concern, I guess, comes in to the powers that be, and whether there is a secret government at hand. So if there is a secret government from behind the scenes pulling the strings, the secret government is going to not fly in the face of science, because obviously science understands what it is. So what if that secret government, and this is the argument that the conservatives have, which is fucking insane most of the time, is that they're pulling the strings to try to just get more money out of us. That it's all a hoax. It's all going to change anyway. And so I'm really on the side of the environment, obviously, but I do also see a concern whenever it's like, they're quick to take our money, but they're not quick to plant trees.
Exactly.
So the real solution here would be like, okay, let's plant trees. Let's not legislation. Like, we're going to create a Green New Deal. But the Green New Deal has a lot of little subclauses and stuff that concern me, like all of those little political subsets that they're trying to inject into it. And that's where I think that the concern comes in, where we are going to butt heads and where we as a species could just fucking fail. Right, because we spend so much time partisan arguing that before you know it, that 12 years have passed, and then we have reached the mark where we can't really do anything to change it. But my argument would be on the Yang side of things is that it's already too late. That we can't do anything. We can, but it's not going to make a real impact. What we need to do is start getting our people to higher grounds, start planning for the worst, and focus on the best. You know what I mean? Like, plan for the worst, because unfortunately in like 30 years Miami might not even be a thing. Like, it might be underwater. Highly likely that's going to be underwater. Do I blame it solely on us as a species? No, but we definitely are a big factor. We have definitely catalyzed.
Can I just say, I just went down to Florida to visit my dad. He lives down there, and I was pretty sad. There wasn't a lot of trees.
No.
I was nothing against Florida. It's a beautiful place, but...
No, it's not. I hate it. Sorry, I'll be the other guy.
I was very, very sad by the lack of trees.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and that's going to make me sound like such a tree hugger, but, that's fine that I am. It's
good.
It's scary in a way, because
they produce our breathing air, so yeah. It's cool.
In the plane you look down, there's just all cities. There's nothing else.
Nothing down there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's a problem. I think that the biggest thing is that the problem was like, to begin with, it wasn't like forest area really. It was all Everglade area, but that stuff produced oxygen, and we decimated it. We paved over it, and you can't really pave over Everglades. Like, you fill it in with dirt, and we move a bunch of earth into this area, and it's like, no, it's still. You can terraform only so much before the end of the planet is going to do what it wants to do. And I mean, there's a point where technologically we'll be able to over terraform. But yeah, I think that like Florida, sorry not to trash on Florida, but I fucking hate Florida. I spent 4 months in Florida. I despise Florida. You're a very nice, happy person with positive perspective. I'm like, no, it's fucking America's basement.
Oh goodness.
And it's wet and it's damp, and I did not like it. But it's beautiful when you go down there for 3 or 4 months. But to live there, the rent's cheap. That's all I can see. Like, oh God,
a lot of people,
crime, and it's just horrible.
Yeah, a lot of people love Florida, and I have nothing against it or anything. Not trying to make people feel bad about Florida, but
I am.
I know you are.
Oh, I know.
It was definitely a shock from coming up here, because we're so lucky. We have a lot.
All the trees.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful landscape in New Hampshire. I wouldn't live anywhere other than New Hampshire.
Yep.
For that reason.
Everyone down there was like, "Don't you just love it here? Isn't it so much better?" It's just like, I miss the trees. I just miss the trees.
It's all flat, and like it's just all flat, wet land down there. Everything is just flat. There's no mountains. There's no hills. It's a grid, left, right, north, west, east, southeast. Fucking no, thank you. I like the fact that I can't get here from there in New England, bub. I'll take it. Seriously, although it was really interesting to try to, get Samsung to wrap their heads around, how that works, because they have no idea that, like, it's not just like grid mapping in New Hampshire. Like, you have to drive around mountains and sticks around. I think that the thing that's concerning the most about Florida is just like their environmental approach and how much of an impact to the environment that they actually have that they're not doing a great job with. I mean, because like you said, it is literally, you can see it from the sky, it's just a city. It's just progress, but at the sake of what,
houses on top of one another everywhere.
Yeah, it's so condensed living down there. The population is just growing and growing, and their infrastructure down there cannot accommodate and will not accommodate in 20 years. They'll have to figure something out as a state. But I think of how many other states are like that. Man, it's weird, because I went from being very unpolitical to being so much more political, only because it's like, I'm so terrified. Like, I brought my kid into this world. Who knows what it's going to look like 30 years from now? Like, that's a terrifying, like, facet of life with a kid, But yeah, I think that, I guess, with the climate thing, my only concern is that a lot of times I think a lot of people are they're so focused on the money side and the legislation side of things, whereas like the biggest impact that we can make is going outside and just like planting a tree.
There's an effort side to that as well,
right? Absolutely.
And then the money side, I don't know enough about it, so I may sound a little naive, but why are we putting all our money into upgrading our iPhones? Right. There's plenty of different areas that we could take from and put towards something better, something more productive for the earth.
Society.
Yeah. So, priorities may be in the wrong spot right now for us.
That's a very valid point. I think that as a species, we need to recondition what our priorities are and focus them maybe a little bit more. And I mean, I guess, at the same point, a little less like worrying about everything outside and focus right on your local community. Yeah. What can you do to plant trees or pick up trash in a local community and whatnot, which is, I think, a thing that a lot of people are trying to do.
I taught my kids about, do not litter. Like, such an easy thing. Don't litter. Yeah. No matter what. Just hang on to your trash in your pocket or whatever until you see a trash can. There's like one little footprint that I've done to help the earth, to teach my kids that. So
I think that's the right way to go about little ideas, little inceptions into their minds, because their futures are completely conditioned on what we do, or how we teach them to kind of move forward as a species or a society. Because right now we're just really heavy on the GDP side of things. Like, what can you produce? What can you produce? What can I produce? Like, okay, but gross domestic product isn't everything. It's an outdated way of measurement. Even the guy who created it said it's outdated. So it's like, what America produces more than anything, the biggest export to the world. People could go, oh, it's corn, it's this. No, it's entertainment, Hollywood, music. That's what and it's a creative thing. So if you really wanted to reinforce, our economy, wouldn't you reinforce the artisan side of the economy? And I guess that becomes the argument so many times, so much more for me than not, is that like, what if we were just give everybody $1,000 a month? What if you could you have $1,000 a month, you can start a bakery. You and your husband, that's $2,000 a month. That's enough to start a business. That's enough to get your foundation off the ground. And what if that became the focus? Is like, what are the jobs of tomorrow? Who gives a shit what the jobs of tomorrow are? we're going to create the jobs of tomorrow. We are the jobs of tomorrow. As people, we want to work. We don't want to just sit around and play video games and fucking...
So I've heard the argument against that. It's not my argument, but I've heard this. Why should we get anything for free? And I'd like to say something about that. From what I hear, years ago, soccer at school, was totally free. All of their uniforms totally free. Those days are gone. To get your kid into sports costs a fortune. A fortune. And I know so many people who actually their parents, so the grandparents, actually help them afford to get their kids into soccer or basketball or some kind of extra activity. There's so many things that we aren't given for free right now that were free back in the day. Not trying to harp on people back in the day, but their times have changed and things have gotten so much more expensive.
True. Inflation is a real thing.
I totally agree with you. And extra money a month, like you could just put that towards, I'd probably get music lessons for my kids. That's what I want to do.
There you go. And you hit the nail on the head with that one. So music lessons transfers that money to another creator. Who's part of that economy.
Exactly.
Who then is going to be able to pay for her car repairs, which then thus goes into the economy.
Exactly.
So instead of trying to create a strong economy where all the money maybe trickles down to everybody else in the trickle down economy, the trickle up economy seems so much more realistic because we're gonna spend it. Like disposable incomes, like that, all of our money goes into bills and in life basically. And if that's the case, and so to your point, and more so for listeners that might be, well, where the fuck's the money going to come from, and why, free stuff, we're just taking money. And at the end of the day, it's not free. Every single one of us are getting exploited on our data. Every single thing that you do, every movement that you make is tracked, quantified, and sold to Google or whoever it may be. Because I'm a libertarian, I always make that argument. Well, it's not free. It comes from somewhere. Where is it going to come from? Where's the money going to go? But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of times that it's not anything really for free. I never received a data check in the mail for all of my personal data that was sold for the last presidential election or to Amazon or any of those things. They make crazy money off of that because we're consumers. Every human being is. So the argument is that a lot of that money will come out of the automation and those individuals that are reinforcing automation, just the individual companies. But at the end of the day, nothing is ever free, right? And I think that that's the point that the libertarians and conservatives are making.
That's something that I think should change. Back in the day, like, a village would come together and fix someone's roof just for the heck of it. There can be things for free.
I think that there can be, and I think that that's actually where the libertarian conservatives actually agree. But their perspective is voluntarism versus taxation. Is that, like you said, when you have a society, naturally people will come together to try to help because we're good, we're not bad. And I think the other perspective is like, no, you have to put a gun against somebody's head for them to give you your money to put towards society. No, if you were just have voluntarism, I think that people would naturally just give their money and try to help. And that you don't need taxes. You don't need to force somebody with aggression to get this type of money that's being redistributed towards other people. I think that people will naturally give back in, but that's time sensitive. That's not going to happen overnight. And where I'll argue the Bernie Sanders approach is that we can increment towards that. And I think the goal is to try to get away from get less government, more personal experiences, us working together without somebody telling us to do so.
And it's amazing, like, what you can do if you just try. Like, I mean, you may not know how to do everything, but, I mean, there's ways to learn.
And other people want to help.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
They want to teach you. They want to say, hey, what's your experience? This is my experience. Let's trade experiences. That's how capitalism was formed. Capitalism gets a bad name, I think, a lot of times because it's so, like, people think of Pfizer and all these big companies, but those are corporations. Corporatism is not capitalism. And I think capitalism is sprung from us working together to barter, to trade ideas, and because look, this isn't free. It costs my family something, but I know you're struggling too. That understanding, that back and forth, I think, is evolved into something that is compulsory. And I think that, I guess, the libertarian perspective and even the conservative perspective would be that we can do this voluntary, and that we will eventually, that we don't need government to tell us to do it, that we can just do it naturally. The argument that I would make, I guess, would be that it's never been done. We don't know for sure that will happen. But I'm optimistic that, I think that, like you said, a village would come together.
Yeah. I can tell you're very passionate about politics.
I actually am not. I hate them, but I am in the way that...
I think you are more than you think.
I probably am more than I think.
This is the most I've thought about it for like years.
So you're probably right. And I guess it becomes more of a facet because of little guy at home. That's the thing that, like...
You're trying to fix, it's...
I don't want him to suffer in the future. That I can't protect him from.
And that's someone who's involved with politics with good intention. Yeah. So,
and I think that what you're saying, like about Bernie previously, that's a good. I think his intentions are good. I think that whether you're finding this out just from watching him, or it's drawing cards, like you can see that that there's this natural positive energy that he has. He's a positive person. He wants to help. People see him yelling a lot on stage most of the time, but I think that's it's because he's so passionate about trying to help people. And I can identify with that. Like you were just saying, like it's funny because I don't think about politics as being something that I really want to do, but it's almost now it's something that I feel like if I don't try to, at least just change the perspective of thought process. Not saying think my way, but just try thinking as many different ways as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that the energy thing is a big factor there too. Is that people can sense, authentism. I don't know.
Authenticity. Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
No worries.
I think that people can kind of feel that.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I get vibes from people, and from my own life, I feel like they pretty much ring true to what I felt and what I believe.
Sure.
So I definitely feel like we could pick up energies.
Yeah. And I used to think that was definitely not a possibility at all until recently. So it's weird. I've really changed my entire thought process behind that, because I have definitely recently very much felt like energy vibes from people that I'm in an environment that...
You ever walk into a room and you just feel the heaviness?
Mm-hmm.
You just feel
That's exactly
dread.
What I'm talking about. Yeah.
I have one house in mind of family members, and every time I walk in there, there's no bad memories or anything. It's just the atmosphere is just so heavy.
It's heavy.
It's very heavy. I know people say that on TV all the time, the ghost shows and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a real thing, and once you experience it, you will know.
You can understand.
Yeah.
Exactly what
I know
is.
that's exactly what we've talked about, Paige, and she has a very strong connection to it too. Very, very strong.
So that actually that's something that I would like to kind of touch on real quick, because I know we don't have a ton of time left, but I do so badly want to talk about the alternate dimensions in which, not parallel dimensions, but subsisting dimensions in which our energy transfers and carries on to another physical realm, a plane, whatever you may call it.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that do you think? How much of if it exists, and I say this if because I'm struggling with this. People believe without a doubt that it does.
Let me just say, I love these conversations. I have these conversations with my husband all the time.
Yeah.
Wormholes and altered dimensions and
Yeah.
stuff. There are endless possibilities. Like, I would never say no to that. But go on, please.
No. I guess my thought is like, if there are alternate dimensions, if there are these different realms where we can exist, so to speak, don't you think that maybe that those beings could have an impact on our physical realm?
That's an interesting thought, for sure.
Is that then maybe that they're trying to indirectly impact it?
That's definitely interesting. I've never really thought about it that way, but
yeah. So I just I think that as time goes on, if we do believe those things, and that's the direction that things are going, that eventually more of that will start to kind of shift to that understanding that we are kind of one with that other realm, and
yeah,
that maybe, assuming that it exists, that we can gather more from that than we can from what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
So, I know you guys got to get going here shortly, so we're gonna kind of try to tie this up. But the one last thing that I think is something I'd like to get your perspective on. Moving forward as species, what do you think? How do you think that? Do you think it's going to change? Do you think more and more people are going to become, I guess, connected to feeling versus just what they can experience?
I think if you look now already, it's already booming more than it was. I mean, when we started, like, there was like nobody like this that I knew. Like, but now you look, like, especially as being online. Unfortunately, I know like technology runs the world, but you do connect with
It's
a lot.
Good thing.
Yeah, you connect with a lot of people that have the same like feelings as you. So I mean, I definitely think it's already growing, and I do think it'll get bigger.
Sure. And since the 70s, I think it's already kind of changed from being something that was really super fringe into being something that's significantly more accepted.
Oh yeah, I haven't really had problems with anybody, honestly.
Yeah.
Like on my own path.
No, I agree. I mean, I feel like most people are becoming more and more understanding and accepted.
Yeah, definitely.
For this stuff. So as time goes on, I think that we're going to become more and more connected, but we're also going to use the internet to kind of bridge those things, which is how we came together today.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm gonna reinforce the need to utilize those mediums, YouTube, for example, and Facebook and Instagram and all those things. So folks out there, it's important, if you get a chance, check these two wonderful witches out on the internet, and if you can, check out the Patreon, and as always, we really try to reinforce the support of the local community. So focus your money and your efforts and your energy locally, work on yourself outward.
And think positively.
Positively. I'm going to try that more often. I've been struggling with it a little bit more lately. But we appreciate you guys for coming on, and thank you for taking a long drive and all that. And we'd love to do this again soon.
Yeah.
So, as time goes on, we'll try to reach back out. But
sounds good.
Thank you guys again. And,
thank you.
As always, you folks listening out there, we appreciate you from all across the globe and stuff, the listeners in Australia, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, because you guys rock. And as always, if you have any information or emails, you can reach us at abstracttransmissions@gmail.com. We're looking for more guests, any type of people from all walks of life. So thank you again, and as always, abstract here, abstract there.
Abstract Transmissions.